Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Big Rican Baseball Show here on the Wise Guys Sports Show, celebrating 5 years of the Big Rican On Sports podcast. I am one of your hosts. I am the Big Rican On Sports, Mike Martinez, and I am going to now bring in my co-host with the most, Mr. JC Blue Note. And Jim, we've kind of made this first little bit here a little different than we normally do here on the Wise Guys with our wonderful intro video. But first of all, it's Saturday the 12th of August. How the hell did we get here?
We are just over 2 months away from the 2-year anniversary and the trip.
This is insanity. Dude, I'm here 6 months.
By Labor Day, we're going to be at episode 40. It's like, didn't we just have a big blowout for episode 30?
Yeah. And here's even crazier. A week from tomorrow, a week from Thursday, I'm in Georgia 6 months.
And this is actually the first Big Rican baseball show that there has been. You notice there was not, for any of you guys watching in the on-demand, there's a method to the madness here with this. We'll explain that, later. But you notice the Wise Guys intro was not played.
Yeah, we're going more off the script than we normally do this evening. Which, for me to even say that is kind of a little fucked in the head, because we usually don't have a script.
Now you got to remember, now I have to bleep that, because when this gets posted to your page,
it's fine. It's fine. I don't care. I am so used to being with you, and the gloves are off. I'm not Pat McAfee. I'm not dropping the F word. I don't care. So we got a lot to get to tonight. We went through the trade deadline. We did talk about that a little bit. I did. My trip last weekend got canceled. So for anybody who wants to hear this one, I sent Jim a message. I'm like, yo, trip's canceled. Deadline show? He's like, denied. I already ordered, what did you say? Blow hookers and pizza?
Yeah, Hooker's blowing pizza already on the way.
Well, was it Papa John's or Jets? Because I'd really like to know which one you got.
I actually, I went to Aldi's and got like a 16-inch, thin crust deli pizza.
Dude, those are the best.
I actually made my dad laugh. It's because I was so hungry from actually doing 2 workouts and a 3-mile walk earlier in the day that half of it was gone before I turned in. 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm waking up, and I'm still hungry. And the other half was gone. And then my father actually says, you could have actually made it last till the next day. It's like, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. It did.
It was the next day, yeah.
It did.
It did. So we got a bunch to get to as far as what's going on in Major League Baseball right now.
A very quick correction. We have not done a Wise Guys or any kind of show in the aftermath of the trade deadline. We talked about stuff leading up to it.
Yeah, so let's get into a little bit of the aftermath of the trade deadline. I want to start with my New York Mets, because if we're doing a Big Rican baseball show, we know it's very Mets heavy most of the time, and that is really the reset of the entire franchise that Steve Cohen took. Here we go. He cracked one. Are you glassing this one, or you canning this one?
No, I have never shotgunned a beer.
I want to get that thing where it helps you shotgun things that you see on TikTok. You actually pierce the can with it. It's like a little thing you hang on your keychain, like a bottle opener.
Yeah.
And you've pierced the can with that. You don't have to use your teeth like Baker did that time. And you open it, and it's like a little spout on it.
There's another thing I saw. I want to say I saw it. It might have been on TikTok or Facebook. That it kind of looks like an oversized cigar trimmer, and it goes around the top, and literally you clamp down and do 2 twists, and it literally lifts the top of the can off, so you can use the can, so you don't have to put your lip here, and you're literally drinking the can like a glass.
That's actually pretty cool. All right, we're going to go off the rails during the Wise Guys section of the show, because it will be our normal 2-hour Saturday night extravaganza. We'll have the first hour is going to be the Big Rican Baseball Show, and then we're going to take a break for a minute where you're going to see where the Wise Guys show takes over. So let's jump into the franchise reset, Jim. And we have talked about this 2 different ways. One, your your article, which by the way was extremely well written, about the lunacy that is the Mets payroll and what they ended up doing. And I'm taking the other side of that. So really, if you want to just highlight what you said in that piece, I want to rebut to that live here on the show.
Yeah, let me get the piece pulled up because it's the last thing I've written. Actually, the second last thing I've written. It was from August 1st. It was titled "Mets Failure to Buy 2022 Title Commissions Crash and Burn Sale a Year Later." With their $384 million payroll, the Mets came in with the highest payroll in MLB history and expectations to win their first series since '86. In the past 4 days at the time, five key members of the lineup are now taking up space in different locker rooms. Chances are, if you've got a few million lying around, there might be a few other players you can take off of Steve Cohen's hands. And then at the time, the Mets were 5 games under 500, 6 games out of the wild card, 17 and a half out of first place. And remember that despite Atlanta playing incredible baseball in August and September, the Mets squandered a 10-game lead, then went out in the first round against the Padres. And then I actually started to refer to myself as Nostradamus.
Jesus Christ.
And then in the span of 3 days, Cohen saw Verlander, Scherzer, two aging veteran aces on his pitching staff move to World Series contenders. Each of them owed $43.3 million, with Scherzer going to the Rangers and Verlander going back to the Astros. And then it's unclear how much of the $86.6 million will be retained by the Mets. But the hope is that Cohen can get a tax break by the start of 2024, as the Mets are $144 million over the competitive balance tax, which is the closest equivalent to the luxury tax in the NBA.
And you're absolutely right. Now, let me take this from the other side of that. And first of all, the guy didn't make all his money by sticking on a bad investments. Let's start there. Second of all, they got rid of Verlander and Scherzer. And listen, no one was more upset about the season than me. The ass beating they took today isn't sitting well with me. As I made the joke to Jim before we went on the air, the Falcons beat the Jets 21-3 today. The Braves beat the Mets 21-3 today.
And it's a good thing that he had to clarify, because considering we now have, Saturday afternoon preseason games,
Yeah, I had to clarify as my mechanic sent me the final score and said, "Hey, did you see this?" And I did it like that because he told me he was going to watch tonight, and I sent him the link to the show. So if he didn't, oh well. But let me tell you what the Mets got, and I think they got their new number one rated prospect in Luis Angel Acuna, who I fully expect to be the starting second baseman come opening day 2024. They are saying a middle infield of him and Francisco Lindor is going to be dynamic. I fully agree. They picked up the number 1 and number 4 prospect from the Houston Astros in the Verlander deal. If you think about it, what Steve Cohen inherited when he bought the Mets was maybe the second or third worst farm system in baseball, and a team that wasn't competing on the field. So basically, he's done what he had to do. He spent a shit ton of money to make this team competitive. Did they fall on their face this year? Absolutely. But with the way the season started, and last year was a lot of optimism, there's a lot of excitement. When Edwin Diaz went down during the WBC, that changed. Every single bit of it changed. Because we knew now David Robertson's not a closer. By the way, have you seen he's gotten tattooed since he went to the Marlins?
Yeah, we're going to talk about another closer when we shift off the Mets here in a few.
Yeah, and we're not going to be much longer because it's basically become in-season rebuild for this franchise, which is fine with me. I don't want a run to a title and then 15 years of mediocrity. He's trying to build the Dodgers. And if you remember the Dodgers in the early 2000s, did they win? Yes, they won with veteran players that they brought in on free agent deals, and they built their farm system that way because they had a fire sale when Frank McCourt got divorced and had to sell the team. Think about the dudes they brought through their system that won them that title. Urias, Hyunjin Ryu, Andre Ethier, Matt Kemp, Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger. They had the pieces to go out and trade and get Mookie Betts. You bring in Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler. The Mets don't have that. And they had to rebuild the farm system somehow. Getting rid of two guys whose combined age is 80, who weren't in the plans after next year at the longest, not a bad move. Think of what else they did. They picked up the 5th-rated pitching prospect from Milwaukee for Mark Canha, free agent after this year. They picked up 2 young kids in the lower minor leagues who are projected to be starters at the major league level for David Robertson, free agent after this year. They cleaned off the books a lot of dead money that they were paying dudes to basically be lame ducks. Canha wasn't playing. With the emergence of Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos and Alvarez, they were having to move McNeil around to get everybody at bats. Canha wasn't really playing.
I still find it a little tongue-in-cheek or oxymoronic that you guys are you indicated that you cut a lot of dead kind of, I don't want to say dead weight, but dead money, and you guys still have a $320 some odd million payroll, which is 50 more than the Yankees for second. And you're still, and it's still going to be the highest payroll never to get into the playoffs.
And you're absolutely right.
This is not me shoveling dirt. It's very ironic,
It's extremely ironic, don't you think? Yeah, see what I did there?
Like rain on a rainy day.
It's a free ride when you already paid.
I know that's not the line. Remember that MTV used to run those commercials with the weird cab driver who would always say the words of the song wrong?
Yes. Like when MTV used to run music videos.
Yeah, it's like saying you're crazy when you're already nuts. Yeah, they turned 40, earlier this week? MTV did, and they haven't played a video on that channel, I want to say, in 10 years.
18, 19 years, yeah. It's insanity. But finishing up my point about the Mets, and I want to jump on what you were going to say about the other closer. In all honesty, I think what the Mets did this year would have been different if Diaz had not gotten hurt, and if they had not started the season without Justin Verlander. Think about it. Their starting 5 was supposed to be Verlander, Scherzer, Kodai Senga, Quintana, and then McGill or Peterson taking up the number 5 spot. Well, Quintana didn't pitch until 3 weeks ago. Verlander spent basically the first month on the IL. See, football is happening. I said IR. And Max Scherzer, for as good as his record was, high disappearing act every time they needed a big start. So, yes, is it disappointing that they spent this kind of money and they did not go anywhere? Absolutely. Absolutely it is. 100%. This is not a season I will ever talk about as I go on. Outside of it's the year Pete Alonso hit another 45 bombs and the Mets are going to back up a brink truck this offseason for him. And the crazy thing is, Jim, they're not far away from being a competitive team for 2024.
Right.
You add a pitcher or two, you bring Alonso back, and you get a healthy Edwin Diaz, who, by the way, was in uniform yesterday. He may pitch before the end of the season. You have a couple of pieces you can bring up. Ronnie Mauricio, I think, will be a big piece of this team next year. Luis Angel Acuna very well could be the starting second baseman, as I said before. You have Beatty, you have Vientos, you have Alvarez, you have Lindor, you have Nimmo, you have McNeil. That's a homegrown core you can build around with free agents and pitching that you have to bring in because you haven't developed any yet. My last point about the Mets is this, and I think I've said this to you before, and I know I've said it on the Big Rican Show. My favorite moment of the 2015 World Series, which is the last time the Mets got there, was after Yoenis Cespedes was injured in Game 5. And everybody says to me, well, why is that? It's because if you go around the horn and around the diamond, the only player who did not go through the Mets system and make his major league debut as a New York Met was Curtis Granderson. Darno was behind the dish. Harvey was on the bump. David Wright at third, Wilmer Flores at short, Daniel Murphy at second, Lucas Duda at first, Michael Conforto in left, and Juan Lagares in center. Granderson is the only dude on that field that did not make his debut as a Met. That's why the 2015 World Series, win, lose, or draw, was going to be my favorite because it was two teams that had to build themselves in Kansas City and the Mets. And it wasn't these go out and get the big name, go out and do this, build yourself. That's why I enjoyed 2016, even though it didn't go the way you and I wanted it to.
Right.
Because, again, both teams were built. They were not purchased. Would I still have a blast with a purchase title? Hell yeah, I would. Hell yes, I would. Difference between a purchase title with this Mets team and the two we talk about all the time, the 97 Marlins, they've got a core of dudes who've come up through the system on this team. The Marlins didn't. So, that's my little sermon about the sons of bitches that make my blood pressure go up.
And, we griped that, you and I personally, because we were in the town when it happened, that, remember, I was not a big Indians fan when you and I were in high school, and then
No.
I started to come kind of back onto the train during that 97 World Series because I did not want a bunch of, like a third-year franchise named after a fish going out and buying it, and they did. But the thing is, Miami's got 2 World Series titles that they can always hold above everybody, whereas the city of Cleveland and Flushing you guys haven't had one in 27 years.
37 years.
37 years, and we're going back to 48, and I'm not. I was told there would be no maths, so I'm not doing.
No,
that.
there will be no maths. 75, but that's only because I went to the office today to work.
Cheater.
Yeah, dude. So I was playing the Xbox last night, and I put on the end of year episode from 2022, and you've heard of Elf on a Shelf. The cheater on a jeter still gets me. Or Nestor on a molester. Those two just did it.
God, those were so good,
dude. When we get to the wise guy section, I got one for you.
Because that's going to be. That's, you think of it, it's like it's a time-honored tradition that's going to be going forward with us, is that we're going to have our year-end comedic blast, which is entirely an off-the-rails thing, and then the week after that is the Wisies.
Dude, that's right. We're going to actually have to start writing the Wisies in October.
We're going to have to start writing the Wisies in November because we actually have other things that we need to focus on a lot more intuitively in October.
Well, I know that
priorities are.
I'm talking about we're going to have yeah, I think my buddy's watching because I'm not sure if you're keeping up with the Mets are down. The Nets are down 2-0 top 8. I didn't know the Nets were playing. Okay, the Mets are losing 2-0 top 8. Yeah, I know they're losing. You don't show it. I just read it. You don't need to show it. They suck. I still want to know if they got Dwight Howard to get videos of these dudes at the strip club. That's why they signed all these under-market deals to stay with the fucking Braves. It's the only way I see it happening. Anyways, so did you want to bring up Mr. Clase in Cleveland, or was it someone else you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Who else would it be? That
I don't know.
Just what a nose. You talk about nosedives with the Mets. The fact that the Guardians right now are 5 games under 500 and are actually with Minnesota, winning right now, they're still going to be within 5 games of first place. They're not going to get there right now, but selling off Ahmed Rosario basically for magic beans, at that point getting Noah Syndergaard, who got his first win since April the other day, and then letting Aaron Savali go as your number 3 starter. So I was listening to yesterday afternoon's afternoon finale, their matinee against Toronto. The Guardians threw three of their rookies and Syndergaard in that 4-game series, and the starters only gave up 4 runs.
You were saying this.
And the bullpen worked half as many innings and gave up 7
Well,
and got a split.
have they had injuries in that bullpen, or is it just lack of performance?
It's just that bad that
Okay.
you've had every single member of the starting rotation. Bieber's missed 2 months. McKenzie basically is going to pitch 2 or 3 times and miss the entire year. They're hopefully can be back right with Bieber in the middle of September. Savali was on the shelf and then got dealt. Cal Quantrill right now is probably the worst pitcher in baseball. He has not been out of the 5th inning since May.
I will see your Cal Contrail, and I will raise you the combination of Tyler McGill and David Peterson.
Quantrill gave up at least 5 runs in 6 of his last 7 outings when he was in the lineup.
Oh, so he could be those two. Okay.
Right.
Good to know.
And I just pulled up the stats that how is it that Emmanuel Clase is leading the American League in saves and has 9 blown ones, and Trevor Stephan has 7?
This Guardian season is reminding me of the 2019 Mets. They blew 27 saves. I've done the maths, excuse me. If the Mets would have blown 10 instead of 7, or if they would have blown 17 instead of 27, the Washington Nationals don't make the postseason. Screw you, asshat. You don't need to remind me, bro. I know they're garbage.
But it's for the listening and the viewing audience.
He should be more embarrassed that Quintana took them as long as he should be more embarrassed that Quintana shut them out for as long as he did.
But Clase right now with 9 blown saves, I want to say he's 2 off the major league record or 3 for an individual.
Except probably set by Edwin Diaz.
It's very close, and right now at this point, I think he's going to get there. There's still 2 months left in the season.
Most likely. But here's the thing, though. He's got such good stuff, Jim. What is he not executing? Is it location issues? Is it mechanical? What's going on?
It's Jekyll and Hyde. He's on. He'll have 4 or 5 saves in a row. He looks like he's rebounding, and then he actually blew 2 saves this week. They had a 5-4 lead going into the 9th this afternoon against Tampa. He goes 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, walk off.
Was that a Rosarena? Was that the diving catch hit off somebody's head?
I didn't actually see the game or the highlights, but yeah.
It looked like if that was today and a Rosarena hit the walk-off hit, whoever's playing right field for the Guards dives for the ball in the gap. It hits off his head and ricochets. It didn't touch the ground. Ricochets away, and Straw can't catch it before it hits the ground. That's how the game ended.
Yeah, it was a Rosarena.
Yeah, that was today. He dove for it. It hit off his head, went straight up in the air, and Straw couldn't adjust fast enough, which would have been hard to do, to catch it before it hit the ground.
And the worst thing about what Clase did today, not only blowing this save, but also it sets them a game further back in Minnesota, and it wasted a 12 strikeout effort by rookie phenom Gavin Williams.
Dude, he's nasty.
Him, Bybee, Logan Allen, I actually brought this up on Twitter and Threads the other day, that when Bieber and McKenzie come off the injured list here in a month, they shouldn't go back to the rotation. Put them in the bullpen because your rookies are actually performing better than you were when you were healthy earlier this year. And then you can start getting rid of some of the dead weight and the bums that are in there right now.
I said this to you on the phone yesterday, and I said it in 2016. Noah Syndergaard should be a closer. Who's more intimidating than that dude? Did you play the music from Thor when he comes in? The lightning strikes everything. How nasty would that be coming out of bullpen? Almost as good as Wild Thing and a steroided up Charlie Sheen. Almost as good.
It would be good, but I mean, the thing is right now, I mean, Colossi is their established starter, but you figure between him and Stefan, 16 blown saves, you take half of those, that's an 8-game improvement, and you're leading the division by 2 games, and you're 4 games over 500 right now.
Jim, they would have won the wild card going away and hosted the wild card game in 2019. And then you're talking about having, and this is the 2019 Met top 4 of the rotation. You ready? DeGrom in his second consecutive Cy Young season. Syndergaard, Wheeler, and Marcus Stroman. That's who the Mets had in their starting rotation that year. They make noise.
But I mean, both of our teams were sellers, and my Cardinals also massive sellers.
The Cardinals also, like the Mets, need a franchise reset.
Yeah, but let's actually talk about the 2 biggest buyers, arguably, the Tampa Bay Rays and the Texas Rangers.
I would throw Houston into that too, or even the Dodgers.
Yeah, but arguably, who had a bigger splash than Tampa and
the
Texas?
Dodgers.
You think
the Dodgers
more than either of those two?
You bring Ahmed Rosario over, which effectively ends your top of the lineup shortstop question. You go out and you get Joe Kelly again. Who else they get in that deal with Joe Kelly?
I don't even remember, but I'm still not sold on the Rosario thing. I'm really not.
It's not that I'm sold on it. It's that he answered maybe the Dodgers' biggest question outside of pitching, because they had no one to hit leadoff and they had no one to play shortstop. He does both, and he's done both for several years. He was still hitting. He was hitting leadoff right before the trade deadline for the Guards in the show.
Yeah, but his defense was marginal, and he couldn't hit his way out of a wet paper bag right now this year.
Yeah, I think that Jimenez contract messed him up. If you think about it, he came over with Jimenez, and in the Lindor deal, he was the centerpiece from the Mets.
Yes.
And that Jimenez developed as quick as he did, which you and I talked about. I hated that he had to go. That I think the contract messed him up. I really do. And it's all up here. Not saying he should have, but I really honestly think it did.
Speaking of Cleveland Guardians, while we're getting off the trade deadline here for a moment, but kind of sticking on theme, something else happened since the last time we did a show with $100 million player with the Guardians.
Oh, I got one better. Hold on.
This dolphin.
Oh, it's a stupid ad. Hold on.
But this dolphin can see in 4 because with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube.
Hold on. Gotta love live TV. Did you hear McAfee talk about he just laid him out? The Tom Hamilton call is absolutely beautiful.
I hate Joe Rogan, but they broke that down on their show one day this week.
Rogan broke it down on the podcast?
Uh-huh.
That's wonderful. Lance Lynn is who the Dodgers got in that deal with Joe Kelly.
Okay, that was right. That was it because it's like I was.
Thanks, dude.
I'm a fan of Lance Lynn.
I like him too. Well, he was a Cardinal.
Right.
Wasn't he on? Was he on the 2011 championship team?
Yes.
Okay.
Tim Anderson.
You big dummy.
No. We should have had the clip from Friday. You got knocked the fuck out.
I kept trying to find the clip and I couldn't find an audio version of it, but all I kept thinking was, I got a bird. His name is Ronnie. Well, tell him, Ronnie, you got knocked the fuck out.
And yes, Lance Lynn was nasty back in the day, but I think he'll fit in nicely with that Dodger rotation, especially with Kershaw off the IL. So how about this? How about Elvis Andrus has been front and center for two of the craziest fights in baseball history? Because he was playing shortstop the day Rougned Odor laid Joey Bats out.
I'm just going to bring this up of this or that, kind of like a little you don't know Jack here. Better baseball fight, Odor and Joey Bats or Anderson and Ramirez? Like, who had the better right hook? Because Odor just knocked the glasses square off of Bats' head, but Ramirez put Anderson down.
When Tom Hamilton goes, down goes Anderson.
Did you? And we've all seen it. It took 4 White Sox to be able to carry him back to the dugout because he was staggering, and then he still tried to come back out on the field, and it took 5 of them to force him back up the tunnel.
And by the way, for those who haven't seen the video on it, Michael Kopech was holding Jose Ramirez when he clocked Tim Anderson.
Yes.
The better fight was those two because they squared up. Odor just cold-cocked Joey Bats. And listen, Joey Bats took that like a boss.
And congratulations to Joey Bats officially calling his career today.
Did you see he came out on the field and they lined like a red carpet type thing with bats?
Yep.
I thought that was cool. Hey, listen, man, that's one of the greatest moments, postseason moments in baseball history when he hit that home run against Texas. And just never mind the bat flip. If you look at his teammates and you look at the crowd, that moment will live forever. So will the fact that Rougned Odor just pimp slapped him.
And people keep forgetting that Rougned Odor is still in his late 20s. And did that.
Yeah. I happen to think that Ramirez should have gotten less games because he's not the one that started that fight.
It was shaved down from 3 to 2.
He should have gotten 1 and a fine.
Yeah, I'm surprised Anderson didn't get 10.
Anderson dropped the gloves. Quite literally.
Anderson
dropped the gloves.
You know what? I actually would have given him 10 as really more so it would have been like the effect of the instigator rule in hockey. You know, you were the one that instigated the fight. You're the one that gets tossed out and gets the more severe penalty. So he's the one that squared up. He's the one that threw the first punch. He's the one that instigated it, but it's also stemming from his actions on Friday night of pushing Ray and Rocchio's hand off the bag, which is the worst call in baseball this year.
That was his Bush League as A-Rod slapping the ball out of Bronson Arroyo's hand in the playoffs years ago.
Right, but the difference is that was before replay, and they got the call right. The original call on this was right from last Friday night, and they reviewed it, and I don't know what the hell New York was looking at to where they overturned this.
Was Angel in New York that night?
Who knows? And Tito getting run in back-to-back games, you know, for arguing that call, which he was right about, and then also getting run as part of the fracas with the fight.
Never mind that. Tito's been fragile of health recently. Who's he trying to throw down with? Tito needs to calm himself.
Yeah, well, Tito, the Chicago manager, and
Preefel.
Preefel and Mike Sarbaugh, the Guardians' third base coach, already served their suspensions. Jose's not playing today or tomorrow, and he'll be back for when they're in Cincinnati on Tuesday with the off day on Monday. and I don't know when Anderson's going to start serving his, but might as well just get it over with, because you noticed that there was nobody backing Anderson up with that. When Ramirez landed, they just let him fall.
He fell in Elvis Andrus' lap. That was hilarious. But the Tom Hamilton call, Jim, I mean, he's a national treasure. So speaking of calls, I want to get your opinion on something. You're the journalist here. I'm the talking head, as it were. I still think I'm better than Stephen A., but that's just me, and I've had a lot of caffeine this evening. What do you think of what Baltimore did to their play-by-play guy?
Kevin Brown?
I almost said Mike Brown, but then I realized that was the coach of the Cavs, and I thank you for wearing the Big Rican Cavs shirt tonight, by the way.
It was the most Bush League thing I've heard, because when you look at it further, he was actually filling in for a guy who had already been suspended, waiting to come off of his suspension before they turned around and suspended him.
First of all, he's giving the team praise for playing better at the Trop this year as opposed to previous years. What were they, 1-15 there in the last couple of years?
1-16 in series in the last few years or something like that.
Yeah, no, they don't have their broadcasters back. And not for nothing.
That's the Peter Angelos theory of, nothing goes without my say. I'm the end-all, be-all here.
You big dummy.
I can't stand Angelos. By the way, one more Bobby Bonilla crack. I'll remind you how much he's still paying Chris Davis. Anyways, did you hear, in essence, every other play-by-play guy and every other team go after the Orioles?
I saw what
Gary Cohen went in.
I couldn't think. I wanted to say Steve Cohen. It's like, no, but I heard that, and wow.
Gary Cohen, listen, he's gonna Here's your off the rails for the Big Rican Baseball Show. No, it doesn't, because there's no Hitler mustache involved.
I could go pencil one in real quick.
Not for you, for Angelos. But in all seriousness, Gary Cohen, because I watch the condensed games every morning, except tomorrow morning. I won't want to watch this slop. But the condensed game had it, and then SNY had the thing on YouTube, so I watched that the one morning, and I'm like, whoa, Gary's not like that. That's not his thing. These dudes that I know down here, they are the best, man. They're the absolute best. So Gary doesn't go in on people like that. For Gary to go in like that, that's saying something. But it wasn't just that. Michael Kay on his radio show in New York went off.
Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus both touched on it and gave their opinions during a Guardians game on the radio afterwards.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You're talking Michael Kay, Gary Cohen, Tom Hamilton. 3 dudes who honestly should all be in Cooperstown already.
Right.
And they're going off on you. You just distracted from the best season in Baltimore Orioles in recent Baltimore Orioles history since what? 2014? 2015? When was Buck Showalter done there?
I was going to say, because that was like the waning, Albert Bell years. Brady Anderson.
No. Buck was winning with them with. I want to say 2016 was the last time Baltimore was in the playoffs, because that was Ubaldo Jimenez gave up the home run to.
That's right. Because a lot of people forget about that team because of everything else that was going on with Cleveland and Chicago that year.
Yeah, and Buck had a good team. Adam Jones was on that team, who still has the best play in the history of the WBC. That robbing of Manny Machado. That team was loaded. Manny Machado, Adam Jones, Chris Davis when he wasn't hitting 045. They were good. Toronto just was better. Shut up. Buck is fine. God. I'm taking body blows down here, dude.
I'm hard pressed to disagree with that.
That Buck should have retired?
Yes,
You're saying he shouldn't have or he should have?
he should have.
No. Okay. I think Brian Roberts had moved on by then. It's very possible he was on the 2015 team that beat the Tigers and lost in the 2016 team that beat the Tigers but lost to Toronto. It's possible. Buck managed a team last year that didn't have its top two pitchers. One till August 1st, and the other missed 8 weeks to 101 wins. It's not him. These dudes just can't play this year for whatever frickin' reason. End of story. And they're going to have Buck till the end of next year. But I digress. So, Jim.
You know, you also think about it, we're going to have a massive changing of the guard because you guys are going to be in line for a new manager after next year. We could be in line for a new manager after the end of this year at this rate.
Your guys' new manager's already on staff.
Yeah, we all know it's going to be Santos. It's
going to be Sandy.
They're keeping the seat warm for him, but it's
That's why he hasn't left.
I also think why do I have the feeling he's going to stay around through next year because he wants to actually get to 1,000 wins?
What's he at?
I take that back. He just hit 900 with the Guardians on Thursday.
Yeah, he's over 1,000 wins because he had 700 in Boston.
Yeah, he's 1,300. He's 13th on the all-time list. I want to say he's like 70 away from 2,000 or something.
Possibly. So, Jim, right now, since you are still working the buttons, I would like to do something we haven't done yet, but we have talked about on here. We did it once. And I would like if you could please pull up the Immaculate Grid. And let's do a grid for tonight. It is the baseball show. We'll do the baseball one. I do this every day. I did not do it today because I wanted to do this on air tonight. So for those of you guys who don't know, the Immaculate Grid is kind of like the newest thing of Wordle, but it's in the sports world. And it gives you 9 boxes like a tic-tac-toe board. And there's 3 things across the top and 3 things across the side, and you got to match them up with players. The other day I sent one to Jim. I would have thought for sure that Pujols career average was over 300.
Oh, you're going to like this one.
Why is that?
You'll see in just a moment.
There's a big Mets emblem on it, isn't there?
Yes, there is. But because I know hockey, I tried hockey the other day.
I tried a football one.
The hockey one, I love it. They call it puck doku.
The football one I did had a Cleveland Brown, or no, I did a Cavaliers one, a basketball one. It was Cavaliers Sacramento Kings. Who did I use? Delhi. 0.4%.
Yeah.
It was Cleveland and Boston. I used Jeff Green. 0.4%.
You ready?
Let's do this. Oh, boy. Top left, 300 wins, 3,000 career strikeouts. George Thomas Seaver.
I even beat you to that. Come on, you're slacking.
New York Mets, 3,000 strikeouts. Max Scherzer.
And we don't even care about how low we're getting.
No, I got a couple of low ones in my head. 3,000 strikeouts and a Cy Young.
I'm immediately thinking Nolan Ryan. I'm thinking Roger Clemens. I'm thinking...
Do Roger. No, don't do Roger.
Shit. 10%. It's not bad.
Yeah, but we got to do Boston and 300 career wins.
You could duplicate, I think.
No, you can't. Oh, Boston in 300 wins? Cy Young. Boston and the New York Mets.
300 wins in Hall of Fame, Greg Maddux.
Yeah, do Maddox. Boston Red Sox and New York Mets. Calvin Schiraldi. What's that one?
3%.
Yeah. Cy Young and the Boston Red Sox. Go Pedro.
I was almost going to think, didn't Dice K win it?
No. The only other one I can think of is Josh Beckett, but I don't think Beckett won it either. All right, Hall of Fame New York Mets. Mike Piazza.
This one's a little too easy. I could even figured this one out today. Cy Young and Hall of Fame.
I want you to go. We're going to
Take
go.
your pick.
Sandy Koufax.
Rarity of 185.
Yeah, I like to go for the low rarities, but
it's...
And the funny thing is, you could have used anybody who's been in the Hall of Fame that played for the Mets, like Warren Spahn, Willie Mays, Yogi Berra. Who else? Pedro. We could have used Pedro there. Tom Glavine. Or as Michael Kay called him when he was terrible, Tomas Glavine. Which is the New York baseball version of Brandon Weedon.
Or Seneca Wallace.
Hey, I see he played against the Browns last night.
Yeah, once they finally started playing after a 45-minute weather delay.
That's because somebody was on the massage table.
We had...
Next segment.
We had 2.5 inches of rain today, and we had 1.5 inches yesterday.
Good Lord. Hey, go to the football one just for giggles.
You've been playing the foosball behind my back?
You know, someone said that she should play Elon Musk in a biopic movie.
God.
All right, what do we got here?
Raiders, Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch.
He's just here not to get fined. 1,000-yard rushing season, Las Vegas Raiders. Marcus Allen. Yes, that's daily. Every day they do a new one. Usually when I get up in the morning, before I get Bobby up to go to school now, I do that in the morning. What we got? Super Bowl champ, San Francisco 49ers.
Super Bowl champ, 1,000-yard rushing season, TD. Tony Dorsett. 0.9.
Super Bowl champ, San Francisco 49ers. Go Ricky Waters. Bottom left. Bottom left.
Okay. You know what? I was just playing. I just played through a season of old school 8-bit NES Tecmo Bowl, so a lot of these should be fresh in my mind.
Yeah, they should. Super Bowl champ, Seattle Seahawks. Cam Chancellor. I'm going for the ones people aren't going to use.
Why isn't Cam Chancellor coming up?
Is it KAM?
You might be right. There it is.
What's that one?
9.
All right, so we got San Francisco 49ers, Las Vegas Raiders. Jerry Rice. That's going to be big.
46.
Yeah. 1,000-yard rushing season, New England Patriots. Did they ever have one? Corey Dillon?
Mm, yeah, because it doesn't have to be with them.
New England and San Francisco. Randy Moss.
Did Moss play in San Francisco?
Yes, he did.
And Patriots Seahawks. Boy, there's a sore subject.
Yeah. But who played on both? New England and Seattle.
I have a guess, but I can't remember if he played with the Patriots. I want to say he did.
Who is it?
Christian Foria.
Christian Foria did play with the Patriots. Did we just pull the same? What were we 184 for baseball, 185 for football?
Something like that.
Go back to baseball. Let's see what it was. That's crazy. It was the same.
Can we go 3 for 3?
Yeah, I don't know enough basketball.
Yeah, me either. Okay, we're done.
All right, so we're done. Bring it back up. So let's close out the Big Rican Baseball Show the only way we know how, and let's talk about where we see the rest of the season going. Look, I'm going to say this. It's going to make Timmy very happy when I say this, but the Atlanta Braves are going to run away and fucking hide, and no one's going to have to play them until the second round of the playoffs. However, I said this to him today. I said it last year. The worst thing for a team that is this young playing this well is a bye. So, look, I think Atlanta's going to end up with the number 1 seed in the National League. They're going to host all the way throughout, and I think they're going to end up with the number 1 seed overall. So this state could be rocking come October. I caution them with the bye. Don't know how well that's going to work. As far as I think 3 teams are coming out of the National League East again. I think the Phillies. Hey, by the way, Michael Lorenzen. His Vans are now in the Hall of Fame. Dude, he's pitched 17 shutout innings, I think, since he joined the Phillies.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
And then they actually, rewarded him by giving him like 10 days off or something?
Yeah, I think they're skipping a start because of how deep he went with the pitch count on this one.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. By the way, the video of his mom, wife, and the baby, where the mother and the wife are holding each other just chanting, one more pitch. One more pitch.
That was
phenomenal. That was awesome.
Fantastic.
I think the Dodgers are going to win the West. I think San Diego's going to blow it up in the offseason. I'm very sad that the Diamondbacks have fallen off the way they have. I think Cincinnati's going to win the Central. I just got a feeling, Jim.
There's a feeling, but they've got to actually get a little bit hot here because Milwaukee's finding their groove.
Yeah, but I think there's going to be 3 teams out of the East, 2 teams out of the Central, and the 1 team out of the West this year. I think Cincinnati's going to get in. If I'm predicting the National League playoff right now, Braves the 1, Dodgers the 2, Cincinnati the 3, the 4, 5, and 6 are interchangeable between. No, they can't carry them alone. You're absolutely right, Timmy. So I think the 4, 5, and 6 are going to be any mix of either Milwaukee, Philly, and the Marlins. Which, good job for Miami. They weren't supposed to be shit this year, and they came out and they're going to get a playoff spot again for the second time in 3 years, or second time since 2020 that they get a playoff spot. American League, it brings great joy to my heart to say the New York Yankees will not be anywhere near the fucking playoffs. Baltimore wins. I think Baltimore's going to come back and win the East.
That's going to be the best race of the entire rest of the regular season right there, is who runs with that.
Yeah. Arizona? Arizona's that's one I want to go to, but yeah, no, they need a better fan base. So Baltimore wins the East, Tampa gets in. Unfortunately, I think Minnesota's going to win the Central now. With the guards are just not playing well.
Yeah, I think this is where they're going to start pulling away a little bit.
But the West, the AL East and the AL West are going to be dogfights, and you can thank the New York Mets and their sell-off for making the AL West that much more interesting, because you could have a matchup late in the year of Justin Verlander against Max Scherzer. How cool is that, though?
Bigger, on a personal level, bigger disappointments, not the teams we were talking about earlier, but who's likely not going to get in for where they started the year. The Pirates, the Snakes, or the Halos.
The Halos, because I would love to see Ohtani on the big stage. What I'd love to see is a game 1 in the first round. Shohei Ohtani against either Verlander or Scherzer, whichever team doesn't win the division, they'll have the higher seed. On that kind of stage, dude, that's must-see TV. Every which way, including sideways. So yeah, definitely the Halos. Because I think we're going to end up with the conversation in a few years is going to be who's the greatest player to never win a title, and your argument's going to be between Ken Griffey Jr. and Mike Trout.
Because Mike Trout has entered the chat.
Yeah. And you're talking about, you list them in different sports. You're talking about Trout, you're talking about Griffey, you're talking about Barkley, you're talking about
Karl Malone,
you're talking about Dan Marino. Who else in the NFL? There was another one that's escaping me right now.
Warren
Moon, Phillip Rivers.
And those guys didn't even get to a championship game.
No. Well, championship game, yes. I think I want to say Moon played in a championship game.
I don't remember him doing that.
In Minnesota.
Minnesota never went to Super Bowl.
No, well, they went to Super Bowls. It's not
years ago, but
that was Randall. I'm sorry, that was Randall Cunningham. That 15-1 team was Randall Cunningham. I'm sorry, with Moss and Chris Carter and those boys.
Right.
Mike Trout unfortunately has entered the chat. So, Jim, what do you say we take our first ever Wise Guys commercial break? We come back, we hit the video, and we hit the ground running the way we normally do our Saturday nights, sir. And before we do that, I just want to take this last 50 seconds to say this. Thank you for indulging me. It was 5 years ago this coming Friday that I posted my first ever Big Rican episode. It has spun off into one of the genuinely most fun things I do at all. That's non-family related. So thank you for, number one, having the gumption to come on and do the high school reunion episode with me, and then spin this thing off into really some of the most fun I've ever had doing this. Big Rican will ride again as soon as I figure out how to manage time a little better, but until then, you're stuck with him and I on Saturday nights.
And before we actually, we bring up the curtain on the big show.
Who are we, Dan were we Olbermann and Patrick?
I was almost thinking Riz and Hammer for my, but before you go off on a tangent, you can kill me in the commercial break.
Okay.
But I alluded to it at the very top of the show is that the reason why there was no Wise Guys intro here is this is officially the first Big Rican On Sports episode in a number of months since Mike's relocated. This is actually going to be trimmed for the first hour, and this is actually going to be uploaded to Mike's page as a separate show altogether. But this will remain in its entirety on the Wise Guys channel. So it's going to be almost kind of like a two-part episode for the normal Wise Guys channel for episode 38. But this will actually be a separate show and/or podcast episode for Mike, however he chooses to do with that. So we're covering all bases tonight for his anniversary. And
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
5 more, buddy.
5 more, dude. We're doing this till the wheels fall off.
We're only hanging on by we're not even hanging on by a wheel. We're hanging on by like 2 lug nuts right now.
I'm down.
Yeah, considering we are nuts.
Wait. I'm doing it.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Now you're jumping the shark because that's our shtick.
Let's go.
On a closing note.
Who cares?
27-3 over the course of the day.
Car analogies have entered the chat. Dude, we got to tell them I'll tell them about the Flintstone thing when I see them this week.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of the OTRs on the channel.
That it is. So do me a favor. Shut the fuck up and start the show already.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick 1, maybe 2 minute break, and we will be back with episode 38 of the Wise Guys.
Thanks again, dude.
Good night, everybody.
That was fun.
That was actually enjoyable.
It very much was enjoyable.
We don't even have to do an intro because we already did it because of the way that this is getting put together.
Yes, we did. Sorry, I was having some volume issues on the earbuds. But so thank you for the first hour. I do appreciate that. I did get recaffeinated for the second hour, so let's go.
Well, at least we don't actually have to do our normal 2-hour Wise Guy show because we can't. We pushed the two. We pushed what, the 2:10, 2:15 mark. I don't think we're ready for 3 yet.
No, 3 hours is going to be the October trip.
Yeah, which we're already planning. Not so much planning, but it's like it's really starting to take shape now.
Yeah, it really is. I have found what I'm getting as far as a grill goes. And we're going to be charcoaling it, by the way. Listen.
You don't have to bring too much food because there's going to be 100,000 other people there that we go steal their food from.
Not if you're wearing a Florida shirt.
I mean, I'll be wearing the colors, but not the logo.
Okay. And I told you, I'll wear the colors with you. I got you. So speaking of our trip, let's dive into college football and what the fuck is going on.
It's not even fun anymore. It's really not. I swear, it's to this point, Mike. Am I even going to bother watching this year? Even though I now am able where I can.
Yeah, no, I'm going to watch because I have my team. That's one thing. But I'll tell you this. I want to know who decided to bitch slap the Pac-12. They've got some serious redheaded stepchild vibes going on. Because everybody's running the fuck away. And by the way, the mass exodus started with, of course, UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. But then Coach Prime does a flip-flop and sends Colorado back to the Big 12. Who, by the way, didn't we do a show where we talked about this? We thought the Big 12 was going to die?
Yeah, and then the Big 12 just now is turned into the Big 16. The Big 10 is now the Big 18 with the addition of
Washington, Oregon?
In Oregon. The remaining 4 teams in the Pac-12 are not going to the ACC because 4 schools already have an issue with it, according to ESPN reports today.
Yep.
I honestly think that you're going to see the Pac-12 and the Mountain West merge.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to. And the other thing, too, is the 4 schools remaining, was it Arizona State, Washington State, Oregon State, and Stanford. So you got a big ticket there.
I'm sorry, not Arizona State, because Arizona State followed Arizona suit and went to the Pac-12. Yeah. So it's the 4 kind of sort of, in terms of football, afterthoughts left there.
Oregon State, Washington State, Stanford, and who was the 4th then? Cal. Okay.
But all of those teams excel in other sports like soccer and baseball and basketball.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is really going to put a damper on some of these non-football sports because all these moves were made because of football. Let's be straight about this. Joel Klatt had an interesting thing, and like I said before, if I'm playing the Xbox, I either watch or listen to one of our old shows now that we're on YouTube Music as a podcast. And, here we go. The beer's down.
No, it's gone. I'm actually just sucking out the last drop I can.
Nice. I got a refill in the commercial break. It's that stock or Stoke, the cold brew. It's the unsweetened, it's the strong stuff that I drink.
Okay.
And it's a big container of it like this for $5.
It ain't bad.
No, it's not, and it's good stuff too. So this is going to have an impact on the other sports, big time. I honestly believe this could cause some of these schools to basically cancel sporting programs or athletic programs, which is terrible. I already have an issue that football is the number one sport in the country because of gambling and ESCCP NFL. But this would bother me because you know what this is going to affect, Jim? This is going to affect College World Series.
There's a part of me that actually thinks that all of this is going to be temporary. And I say that with a caveat, is I can actually start seeing some of these mega conferences splintering off and kind of getting back to some normalcy, like how it was before all of this realignment the last 2 or 3 years, because I also think you're going to see college football splinter itself off separately from the NCAA.
I think they need to. The
Because
transfer portal.
Go ahead.
The transfer portal has basically become free agency.
Exactly, and let's also keep in mind that there are 37 or 38 different collegiate sports that trophies are handed out at, and college football is the only one where the NCAA does not award a champion.
Well, in the FBS, yes, that's correct.
In Division I, yes.
Yeah, the playoff is its own entity. Here's the other thing about that, as far as splintering off goes. I think they need to, and they need a commissioner or a czar that's better than the head of the NCAA because he's a worthless piece of trash. We did the thing about the commissioners a few weeks ago about which one we thought was the worst. Right. Scratch that. The dude running the NCAA is the absolute fucking worst.
I don't know. It's gonna be. He's got a long way to go to catch up with Tim Fincham and the of the PGA.
Here's how he caught him. You ready for this? The transfer portal's become free agency. NIL is taken over. There's a kid that transferred from Florida State to Miami who's denied the ability to play and lost a year of eligibility. He transferred because his mother is ill. And they told him he couldn't play. Now, I happen to love this player I'm going to bring up, but I'm going to bring it up. Justin Fields left because, Van Wilder was still under center in Georgia.
Van Wilder's actually performed pretty well.
Well, when you're that age, you only got so much time to perform. Is Chris Winkie too much of a correlation to Stetson Bennett?
We mentioned his name in the last hour. Brandon Weedon.
The difference is Weedon and Chris Winkie went and played baseball for 5 or 6 years and then went back to school.
Yeah, but let's also say that we actually have to give Winkie the advantage because he didn't get trapped under a flag.
And he won a Heisman Trophy and a national title. No, I'm not bitter about the catch. I'm bitter about that would have been targeting in every other stadium in the country. At the very least, it should have been unnecessary roughness on the defenseless receiver, but I digress. And by the way, like Van Wilder, Stetson Bennett still don't have a fucking degree.
He got his degree.
No, he didn't.
Van Wilder got his degree. He graduated.
Oh, yes, Van Wilder. Yes, that's true. He audited his last 6 classes and took the necessary finals.
Because remember, if the gloves don't fit, you're full of shit. I might need to watch that tomorrow after I finish that Netflix movie from the night.
This was the best part.
I thought my favorite part was where Taj was giving the chick the oil massage and caught his hair on fire, then slid out the window.
It is the white berry. No. The interview. I have come to study the great American art. And he spits the water out.
My favorite, where she suits up in net and stones him cold on the ring.
No, she scores on him.
Oh yeah, that's right. Six brothers who played hockey.
Timmy, thanks, buddy.
Tim,
He's
thank
gotta
you
jump on.
very much.
And I'll tell you what, those dudes, they know their way around some cars too. Good eggs, every one of them. So going back to that, I grew up with brothers who play for the Rangers. or how he meets her when she knocks on the door. It's crazy kids in their VD. Hold on. Both that and the Risotage are sitting right there.
Nice. Yeah,
Dude.
I think I'm gonna have to turn that one on tomorrow because there ain't nothing going on tomorrow.
No, there's not. We're taking a light day. Bobby's having a rough time with the schedule change, as is Mama, for that matter. So, listen, I honestly think that...
Do you like what I told her if gift was going to be when I'm down there?
Yes, I did. I didn't tell her.
Good, because I'm going to be telling her what I'm getting you, and if somebody crosses the streams, I'm actually going to find a way to sneak a crowbar in.
Did you see the new Ghostbusters movie?
No. I haven't seen any of them since 2, and I refuse to.
The new one with Paul Rudd, where they take it, where it's Egon's granddaughter. Very well done, because all the old boys are in it.
Yeah, because I actually did see, like, on YouTube, where they superimposed Harold Ramis in, using archive footage.
That one that hit me right in the... Oh.
It kind of hit me a little bit as well.
When he grabs the proton pack with the... Oh. Are you a god? Yes. Good job, Ray. They used the line,
funny,
Jim.
You know what's funny is that as much as he was a Ghostbuster, I'm always going to remember Ernie Hudson more for being Officer Albrecht in my all-time favorite movie, The Crow.
That's right. You know, somebody did the AI where they put in what people look like at their age had they not passed away early.
Yeah.
Dude, someone did a picture of Bruce and Brandon Lee. That hurt.
Yeah.
By the way, very underrated performance in the Bruce Lee movie. Not only by the dude who played Bruce Lee, but by, she was on NCIS. What the hell's her name?
Sasha Alexander, Kote
No. Jenny. Jenny.
Lauren Holly.
Lauren Holly as his wife was awesome.
She was also Jim Carrey's girlfriend in Dumb and Dumber. Which, I will admit, I've never seen all the way through.
I've seen all the way through twice, and both times were when we were in school. So going back to the NCAA, this is what I want to do to the head of the NCAA. First of all, how do you let these punks transfer for money? And this dude's trying to take care of his mother, and you don't let him transfer. First of all, you son of a bitch. How the hell you do that? Second of all, he had the balls to transfer from Florida State to Miami. There in itself, that's bigger than most of it. They hate each other.
Right.
I can't even fucking do it.
You know, it's absolutely ridiculous that the Big Ten has now gone cross-country. The teams that left the Pac-12 for the Big 12, I can understand that. But I can too. You're talking some of these ACC teams, trying to pull the 4 from the Pac-12. I mean, how in the hell are you going to have the possibility, if that goes through, of the Atlantic Coast Conference having 4 Pacific Coast schools?
They can't because of the TV contract they signed with ESPN for the ACC network. They can't leave. And they're not going to ESPN is not going to let any Pac-12. ESPN hates the fucking Pac-12 like they hate the fucking Big Ten.
Tip when there's resistance.
Exactly.
And then there was talk that the Pac-12 was actually going to sign up with Apple for their next TV contract.
What a joke.
It's like the Mountain West has their own TV network right now. A lot of the times you can get their stuff on like Pluto or something.
Can you really?
I think so.
No, I know the Mountain West has their own TV. Because when I was in New York and we had Spectrum, I had every Pac-12 network. I had and that's the thing. What I was saying about Joel Klatt before we got on the Van Wilder thing. Joel Klatt did a great episode. I don't know if you listen or watch any of his stuff on YouTube or whatnot. The Joel Klatt show is actually my favorite college football thing to listen to. That's not when we talk about it. Because
the only podcast I listen to on a regular basis anymore is the Keith Olbermann show, for obvious reasons right now.
Yeah, because Olbermann's the frickin' man. By the way, my favorite Olbermann spot is not his political stuff. It's when he talked about how he got Bob Shepard to record introducing Tony Gwynn from that World Series, and he gave Tony the picture of them and the recording. There's
a segment on every one of his episodes. So he does his main headline, then he does he still does worst person in the world, and then he does like another kind of news like a secondary segment, and the entire final segment of the show, Monday through Thursday, is what he likes to call things I promised not to tell. And he says, now turning to the number one topic on the show about my favorite topic, me. So it's all like stories from his past. And then like, Friday he reads a classic James Thurber short story. So, but it's like, yeah, but I've heard a lot of his shows. I actually heard like where he got accepted into Columbia and almost didn't go because his dad got accepted to a Columbia and then had to turn it down to be able to, make money for the family. And he did 5 minutes on the Jose and Tim Anderson fight the other day. He did 10 minutes on the Kevin Brown thing.
Good. I'm gonna have to listen to that one because I want to hear what Olbermann's got to say about the Kevin Brown thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna send. I'll send you that clip later on.
That'll work.
Probably sometime tomorrow.
That'll work. And you know what the funny thing is, going back to the teams leaving the Pac-12 and going to different conferences. Remember, Colorado started in the Big 12.
Right.
Because I remember them in Nebraska being a big game every year. So, yeah, no, I understand some of the moves. I understand it's the money that put USC and UCLA in the Big Ten. I understand it's the money that put Washington and Oregon in the Big Ten. But now, and I love to say this, Fox, CBS, and NBC are going to muscle ESPN out of the college football game. They own every major market in the country.
Yeah, because it actually opens up coverage for everybody else, because you figure ESPN at that point was going to have their hands in every major sport there is, considering they run baseball, football, the NBA, and the NHL.
I don't know how much longer ESPN will hold baseball. Their ratings are shit. And if Manfred has got a brain in his skull, which I don't know if he does.
That question, yeah.
Because whenever I see him on TV, I start humming. You can't do that to me when I'm doing If I Only Had a Brain.
Okay, so I waited this time.
Thank you.
No, that actually describes what all this realignment bullshit.
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, it is getting dumb. It's getting dumb. I will say this, though. It does give us some intriguing matchups going into the 12-team playoff. You're going to have games like, well, 2024, who knows what Michigan's going to be now after what came down today. Watch him get popped the whole year.
I mean, and even if even if Ryan Day goes up there and stomps him by 50 this year, it's still actually going to put a big asterisk on his mark because he still wouldn't have beaten Harbaugh.
No, I'm saying Harbaugh's gonna coach all year. For those who didn't see it just before we came on, Jim Harbaugh's supposed 4-game suspension at the beginning of this year has been vacated by the Rules and Infractions Committee of the NCAA, as they are going to investigate further and hand down punishment later on. So it's very possible that Ryan Day could go up there and drop 100 on him this year, and then next year beat their ass in the horseshoe, and people will be like, oh, well, you only beat Harbaugh once. Actually, he beat Harbaugh twice at that point in time. But let me digress a little bit. Let me talk about what this means for college football. If he gets popped for a full year, this is if they think that's going to happen, this will be Jim Harbaugh's final season at Michigan, because he'll go to the NFL instead of serve a suspension in college.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, you go somewhere else. Trevor Bauer is going to be back in baseball next year after serving out his suspension in Japan. Somebody's going to sign him. Somebody's going to actually hire Harbaugh.
He already served his suspension out. He went to Japan because no one would sign him. Because the Dodgers released him. They reduced his suspension to 1 season. No one would sign him, and the Dodgers released him. He went to Japan so he could play.
And yet he's having a historic year, even by their standards.
It started out in hysterics.
Yeah, agreed. But as long as I still get momentum and King of JUCO content, I'm happy.
I agree. So, yeah, I think if Harbaugh gets popped for a full season, and let me say it this way. If Harbaugh gets popped for a full season, and Michigan supports him the way Ohio State didn't support Urban in that whole thing with Zach Smith, he's gone. He's gone. He'd make it. If you had a dais or a desk on the big noon Saturday game on Fox, and your in-network, your in-house broadcast team for the pregame show is Charles Woodson, Urban Meyer, Brady Quinn, and Reggie Bush, and then you add Jim Harbaugh. I love McAfee and I love Game Day. Game Day would be a non-factor right there.
I'm still taking my chances with Tim Brando and crew on CBS. Because you know how much I love CBS's coverage.
Agreed, and I still get Buckeye there because Joshua Perry's going to be on there. Did you see ESPN's adding a gambling guy to Game Day this year?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't want to see betting lines when I'm reading
I don't either.
On the screen.
Me neither. You want to do that for the NFL? Fine. Fucking do it. Don't do it for college football. So yeah, no, it's getting stupid. It's getting absolutely fucking stupid.
I mean, it's gone beyond stupid, and we've actually now gone to ludicrous.
What is that? Spaceball 1. They've gone to plaid.
Oh, there will be Spaceballs clips on the soundboard for our next show.
Oh, no. I saw a meme. It said when it's bring your father's, brother's, mother's, uncle's former roommate to work day, and it's a Darth Vader next to a Lord helmet.
You went over my helmet?
I said across her nose, not up it. Who are you? He's an asshole, sir. That's the one we need. He's an asshole, sir. Write it down.
Don't have to. It's already up here.
And we need to have Alex on here and talk about the Tim Anderson fight and click, he's an asshole, sir. Oh, my God.
Oh,
There's another OTR, Jim. So Exactly. Oh, we said before when we were talking about the Marlins, you know what popped into my head? The beginning of Major League 2 when he goes, at least they're not from Canada.
Yeah. Oh, God. It makes the women here in Cleveland puke.
And my mama died. And I didn't care about my balls hurting. Okay, back on topic. I think. You know what's funny? Steph asked me, what are you guys doing tonight in the show? And I was like, that's a good question. I'm looking through the text message chain through you and I. And I'm like, what are we talking about tonight? Oh, I know. I sent you a picture in your text message the other day. Pull it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to right now without actually dropping the soundboard off my phone.
We have a new entrant.
Android is that you could pull your text messages up on your Chromebook.
Exactly. We have a new entrant for the worst piece of sports paraphernalia in history. It's a screenshot. I sent it. It's in the text message chain.
Yeah, I see it.
Put that up.
Trying to blow it up here so it doesn't actually come out of so people can't actually see my texts. Because I don't want anyone seeing like what I sent my dad, what I sent my mom, and my dentist appointment next week.
It's in my chat. They'd see mine. You and I talk about this stupid shit anyway. What in the unholy fuck is that? Are you kidding me?
Why is that coming so faded out?
Who cares?
Oh, that's why. It shared the wrong thing.
You're putting...
I'm going to throw it back up.
I'm going to throw up.
There we go.
Okay. What?
They did that with a bunch of teams, though, didn't they?
Wrong!
Here's the other thing.
No. Don't mean to interrupt. Yeah, they may have done it with a bunch of teams, but this son of a bitch on the front of the shirt hit the biggest shot of his career against that team. Who the fuck? You're going to put a Michael Jordan logo, gigantic, on a Cleveland Cavaliers t-shirt. The fucking disrespect is real.
The only one who also sees that it may not, I mean, it might be in Jordan's likeness, but he's wearing pants.
And he looks fat.
Unless they actually have him like wearing like a t-shirt and like warm-ups or something.
That is pants. But no, seriously though. Are you kidding me? Any Cavs fan worth their salt is incensed by this.
I mean, at least they didn't make it blue and orange, because then at that point you quote Cam Neely from the old ESPN commercials of, you guys want to kick my dog while you're here?
That's effectively what this is doing. I'm sorry. 2016 erased a lot of that, but they still talk about it. I mean, come on. That pansy decided to greenlight The Last Dance the day after his legacy took a hit when they won that championship. Did you know that?
I did not, but I do now.
He greenlit The Last Dance after the Cavs came back to win that championship, and people started saying LeBron was better than him.
He might be the greatest of all time, but he's a child.
He's soft. Yeah, his killer instinct left when he left the basketball court. He left it on the golf course with a few $1 million.
I actually have more respect for Kobe than him, and Kobe actually had more accusations than Michael did. Off court.
God, yes. One of those accusations cost him a $5 million diamond. Look, never mind off the court. How do you expect to sell those?
People will buy them. They'll wear them as like warm-ups or something.
I'm not talking about the players. How, as a Cavs fan, do you wear that shirt?
Considering how many different
if you're a Cavaliers fan, if you're not just a fan because of LeBron or because the team is now good after years of being terrible, how, have you been a Cavaliers fan for more than 5 fucking minutes, do you wear that shirt? Dude, I wasn't a Cavs fan till after that shit happened. And I would never wear that shirt.
I mean, wearing like the Jumpman jersey or something that's got the likeness like small and like in a corner is one thing. Having it the entire
That's what I'm talking about.
of the shirt, that's the problem. Right.
That's what I'm talking about. So if it's like the little Jumpman logo on the jersey because Jumpman's got the rights to it, that's fine. You want an authentic jersey, you're going to have to deal with it. And you can swallow it being that small and the Cavaliers information being the biggest part. If you want to be a real ass about it, Jumpman's taking a shit on the Cavaliers. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah, but he's also taking a shit on 29 other teams, including his own, with them marketing those across the league.
And
it just hits home with us a little bit more. Think about this, is that as much as he torched all of those other teams, especially outside of the Cavs, the way that he torched the Knicks, and there's the blue and orange one.
Let me tell you this. The only thing that would be worse if it was a picture of him pushing Brian Russell into the front fucking row and he'd taken that last shot on a Utah Jazz shirt.
Or, putting John Starks on a poster without even jumping with the way that he schooled him on the baseline.
Yeah, but Starks got him back for that. Starks went left-handed over him and Scotty.
Yeah, one dunk. Jordan basically owned Starks just about every.
Starks was 4 inches shorter. Starks was 6'2".
I was never a John Starks fan. I never saw the hype.
I was a Knicks fan back then, and I wasn't a John Starks fan. My favorite day in Knicks history when I was a fan was the day they drafted Charlie Ward, the Heisman Trophy winner, and he took over for Starks. The best point guard in Knicks history won a Heisman. What's that tell you about the Knicks and or the NFL all in one shot?
Jalen Brunson's going to want to be in that conversation in the next couple of years, though.
He's going to be good. He's going to be very good. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to snap like that. That just annoyed the absolute fuck out of me. Oh my God.
And we are still 2 months away from training camp.
Dude.
I'm already seeing countdowns for training camp in the NHL, and they're not even in the 60s yet.
No, I know. It's
because remember, the NHL starts before the NHL by about 2 weeks every year.
Yeah, that's craziness. So you want to talk about last night a little bit, or did you just not care?
I didn't really watch. I mean, I rushed home right before the rainstorm, but it's we could talk about some of it.
I didn't catch really any of it either. They lost, I know that. I will say the things I read between social media, between threads and Twitter, is that Bill had some rhythm last night with the offense. It looked good. The defense only gave 17 points. But unless Billy only played one drive, they only scored 15 against the Commanders' defense that, by the way, didn't play anybody last night.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the Commanders here in a moment, but keep going.
Yeah. So I got to say this, and you know my feelings on it. If they can only muster 15 points against the Commanders, they're in real fucking trouble. And there is not a single... I did see something funny, though, today. Apparently, Lizzo was supposed to do the halftime show this year for the Super Bowl. And because of the allegations of some of her dancers, the NFL's told her she's no longer allowed to do it. Someone retweeted it, and the comment was, yep, but they'd still let Deshaun Watson play quarterback.
And the funny thing is,
they're not wrong.
Huh?
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong, but when are they going to realize, quit using pop stars for the Super Bowl like this?
Oh, no, I agree with you. They've got to start doing some of the better musical acts. Again, I know you didn't watch it, but the halftime show when the Rams played the Bengals was freaking amazing. Mary J. Blige did not belong there, and I love her, but no. But it was outstanding.
Well, let's actually think about this here. Who could they get to do the Super Bowl show that would be on par with that you think that, you might have, the time might be running short here?
Metallica.
Absolutely. First and foremost.
I'm sorry, but if you darken the lights and you don't bring them up until the first few heavy riffs of Enter Sandman, forget it.
Or Battery, or Fight Fire with Fire, or Seek and Destroy, or
they're going to do their stuff that's more mainstream.
Seek and
not
Destroy.
For the metalheads. Seek and Destroy. But you're not going to do for the metalheads. You're going to open with Enter Sandman, or you're going to open with Nothing Else Matters, and you're going to close with Enter Sandman.
You're not going to go Nothing Else Matters on that stage. You're not going to go something that toned down.
You could.
You're gonna go Enter Sandman. You're probably gonna go Sad But True. You're gonna probably throw in a little bit of Fade to Black. You're probably gonna go a little bit of One. I could definitely see them maybe leading with One. You're probably gonna maybe mix in like Until It Sleeps. You're gonna have to put in like something new, like Lux Eterna off their current album. I mean, you've got about 7, 8, 9, 10, and I go all the way back to like I didn't actually start being a Metallica fan until like '89 with And Justice for All, but it's like I know the entire category front to back. And
I know.
And yet, what's funny is of all 10 albums of their studio releases, and I'm also including the Garage Days covers EP, I have. The only album of theirs I do not have any files saved to in my library is the first one, Kill 'Em All, because I did not like it. And that's sacrilegious.
Really? I'm surprised with what I know of you and your music library that you don't have Kill 'Em All.
There were only about 2 songs on that entire album that I liked.
Okay.
Phantom Lord and No Remorse, and that was really about it.
No Remorse is a good one. The dude I grew up with, that's still one of my best friends to this day. He's the guy. He's like my brother. His brother loved that album and played it all the time. So I've heard No Remorse 1,000 times. Not in years, but I've heard it 1,000 times. Yeah, Metallica's one they could use. Has Pearl Jam done it?
I don't think so. You could probably. Did Foo Fighters do it? I don't remember.
I don't think so. Foo Fighters are a good one. Pearl Jam. I mean, come on. You did friggin'... who was it the year in San Francisco? You did fucking Coldplay.
Yeah, it's
And you had to bring in Bruno Mars and Beyonce to save it.
I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but there's also the door being wide open for like Taylor Swift, because Ed Sheeran was like in one of them.
Are you feeling okay?
I mean, her popularity's never been higher. She gets the older and the younger crowd.
Your dad would watch.
And that's what's scary. Um,
That's
so
why I asked if you were okay.
I mean, there's a lot of them out there that you could pull.
There is. And I understand why they were doing Lizzo, because she is so relevant now. That's why they did Bruno Mars. But Bruno Mars brought it.
Bruno Mars brought it, and Bruno Mars is still relevant. Lizzo really, I don't remember hearing really anything about Lizzo up until maybe a couple of weeks before she was on Saturday Night Live with Eddie Murphy's big return.
Bruno won't do it again, because could you hear him doing, "This bitch got me paying her rent"? That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Oh my God.
I don't think you'd be able to see. The only thing I'm concerned about by pulling, um, like a Metallica or a Taylor Swift, is how elaborate their stage shows are, and I don't know if they could actually get that set up that fast for a 15-minute performance,
I don't think with Taylor's they could do
or
it.
even a 30-minute performance.
Well, not for nothing. They got Lady Gaga and she jumped off the frickin' roof.
Yeah, but she was already set up in place, and she doesn't have a massive, elaborate stage set like the other ones do.
That's true.
Like Metallica, three-quarters of their entire show is built around the stage set.
Yeah, so that'd be tough to do. I mean, when Bruno did the one in Jersey, he basically did it like an old 60s, 70s type concert.
And I don't think we'll see Metallica do it again until they actually had one back in California, whether they go back to SoFi or you're in Santa Clara.
Yeah, where is this one?
Miami?
Location of the next Super Bowl.
Uh,
2020.
Vegas. Allegiant Stadium, where the Raiders play.
I think Metallica would do Vegas.
I think Metallica could do Vegas. Next year, they're in New Orleans. 60, they're... Let's hold off on Metallica for 2 more years. Super Bowl 60's in Santa Clara, which is in Metallica's backyard.
That's a big... Well, you figure they had Coldplay, Beyonce, and Bruno Mars for Super Bowl 50. Metallica's how you top that.
And I can almost even see like Metallica being joined by like others, like bring a Dave Grohl, bring in Eddie Vedder, bring Nita Strauss out.
Ooh.
Metallica with Nita Strauss would be amazing.
Hey, speaking of
Her and Kirk Hammett going back and forth.
Speaking of heavy rock, did you see Steph Curry was singing with Paramore the other night?
Oh, I love me some Haley Williams.
Oh, dude, they had to cancel part of the tour because of her throat.
Yep.
Or for her lung infection.
I almost went to Nickelback here the other night, and then I actually saw that they had country acts opening for them, but I've already seen Nickelback 3 times.
Who opened for Nickelback?
Brantley Gilbert.
Oh, oh, Jesus.
And somebody else. I can't even remember who.
It doesn't matter.
And I was not a huge fan of Nickelback's current album. I mean, there's a couple of songs on it I like, but...
Yeah, it's. I like their early stuff.
Super Side Up, Long Road, Curb. Yeah, I go way, way back with them.
So
I
now,
saw I saw them at the Jar in Akron with a 102-degree fever, where they had full pyro and everything inside that place.
at the Jar.
Yeah, they were trying to cram stadium shows into smaller arenas.
Jar's pretty small.
Jar is pretty small, and it was still the worst acoustics I've ever heard.
Well, it's called the Jar for a reason, Jim.
Exactly. The Jar is James A. Road Arena on the University of Akron.
So we were talking about Nickelback, and of course, Photograph popped into my head as we said that. And a guy I went to school with, maybe you know him too, Matt Cox.
Doesn't ring a bell.
He put up a thing on Facebook today saying, "Hey, class of '97, we started high school 30 years ago this week or this month. I'll see myself out." The fuck, dude? I can't even.
I am just a few short years away. Actually, both of us are a few short years away from 30 years.
Yeah, I'm 2027. I'm 30 years out.
I went to my 10. Our 20, I didn't go. We were going to do a 25, but it was right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, we did 10. I didn't go to that one because there was some stuff going on. And then 20 I went to. It was at some taco restaurant down on the water. Dude. Hung out with Lord of the Pants for a little bit that night.
You mean the proprietor, one of the proprietors of Old 86 Bar out on Lorraine Avenue?
Yeah. My favorite picture from that night is old Robert Schneider hugging me from behind like I was his boo. That was the night Baker planted the flag.
I wouldn't actually mind going to 30, because I mean we've lost some people from my class.
Same here.
But it's also like when we did the 10, camera phones weren't invented yet. That was '07. Everyone still had candy bars or Blackberries.
Yep. Yeah, when my 10, I don't even remember what they did, but I know I said I would help plan it, and then I couldn't go.
Our 10 was
20.
Our 10 was on the second floor of the Boneyard, which right now is sitting where the Sheets and Raising Canes are down the street that I was at about 25 minutes before we went live.
My cousin Katie was working at the Boneyard the night of your 10 or your 20. Yeah, no, she used to run that joint. I think my 10 might have been at the Boneyard too, if I remember correctly, but 20 was at this place, and you know they wanted it to be cocktail attire, and all the guys in the class were like, Ohio State's playing that night, we're wearing gear.
We all showed up in like polos, and then like we actually even started calling out people who didn't even RSVP, just like, dude, nobody cares, the place is already bought and paid for, just get up here. So before we knew it, Joe Ciani got there, Chris Jenkins, we were trying to get him to come up, and he wouldn't come up because that was the one guy that we kept getting asked about more than anybody else.
Well, he's married to a girl that was in show choir with me now.
Yep.
I was at their wedding.
I saw him. I think the last time I saw him was about 4 years ago in Target.
Yeah, he's got one in high school now too. Caleb's a good kid. He really is. But anyways, all right, we covered college football. We talked about the Browns a little bit. We talked about that god-awful fucking shirt. I think there may only be one, like, there was one other topic, and then we had one other thing left to do. What was the other one you wanted to bring up? Oh, the Commanders with Bieniemy.
Yeah, there were two.
Go into that a little bit.
Yeah, the Commanders were one, but the report coming out that the players were put off by his aggressive nature this week.
Suck it the fuck up.
Exactly.
He's got 2 Super Bowl rings as a coach. Shut up.
He's also your heir apparent to be able to take over if Rivera gets forced out this year.
How much hardware do guys on the Commanders have? That answer is none.
Exactly.
The only Super Bowl ring they could look at is Ron Rivera's from when he played for the '85 Bears.
And our heart goes out right now to Steve Mongo McMichael, who is in
That's not good.
Really bad shape right now.
I think it's countdown time for Mongo, unfortunately. Who I didn't know was
a lot of us actually remember Mongo from when he played with the '85 Bears, but there's people a little bit younger than us that also remember his time as part of this.
I was going to say that because that's when I first was introduced to him, and then went back to the '85 Bears. Listen, the Commanders are a shit show to begin with. They're going to change the name again. Did you hear that?
I actually was reading that there's a petition of people trying to change the name to be able to whitewash Snyder's legacy, but there's a groundswell trying to change it back to the old name that we won't say.
No, they won't. They won't do it. It's like Cleveland going back to the Tribe. It's not happening.
Right. Because ironically enough, the Braves, I think their Class A affiliate, they just changed it. They're announcing that they're not going to be called the Braves after next season. After this season, I should say.
I think Atlanta should do that too. If you're going to do one, you got to do them all. That's my whole thing. The Guardians and the Commanders followed suit. Now you need Kansas City, Atlanta.
Well, Kansas City, I don't think you have to, because I think Kansas City had the approval when they named the franchise from the Indian tribes in the area.
Yeah, but Cleveland also named it after a former player who was of Native American descent.
But it was the caricature more than anything, and you couldn't really do that. You couldn't even really change that, because then there were going to be a lot of organizations still throwing back to the old logo wherever they could.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. But yeah, no, I think I'm personally, whether they had permission or not, because Cleveland did. If you're going to change one, you got to change them all. I like the Commanders. I still wish they kind of would have stayed with the red theme and maybe gone like Red Wolves or something. Sentinels
would be the leader in the clubhouse, but
because there's your way to get the entire fan base jacked. You change your name to the Sentinels, you get the okay from the studio to do the same color scheme, and on your first game as the Sentinels, Shane Falco leads them out of the tunnel.
And Nigel Gruff and Kamiko and Clifford Franklin and
Danny Bateman. Dundaska! Come on, Jumbo, let's go.
You ever seen anything like that? Not on a football field.
Oh, he's necking with that cheerleader. Players aren't supposed to fraternize with the cheerleaders. What are they going to do? Fire them? I love that movie.
Give me an S. Pussycats, the club next to the airport. Where you going?
You were in Cats?
48?
You were in Cats? No.
Pussycats.
She slapped the other girl on the ass.
Oh my God, I forgot to tell you something. She always does that.
What's that?
Such an underrated part is where Annabelle is breaking down the defenses while swerving in and out of traffic, while Shane is while he's clutching at the frame for his life.
What was the name of the lotion? Something Yam?
Wild Yam.
Wild Yam. It smells good.
I like that.
Or no.
And yet what's funny is that was a little bit after The Matrix. So the first thing I kept thinking of is when he actually said that's cold, as she's putting it on his shoulder, is reaching into the mirror in The Matrix where his whole arm goes, where he says it's so cold.
Or is that your ride? Guys, we don't want to know what happened, but we do have to tell you that you're not allowed to have firearms in the facility.
Well, no use standing outside here. Let's go inside, within shouting distance.
Oh my God. And the fact that him and Bateman were best friends was the best part. Another underrated Jon Favreau part. Look, my 3 favorite Jon Favreau parts, and then we'll go into the end of the show. PCU, Danny Bateman in
Replacements.
Swingers.
I thought you were going to say what his character was in the MCU.
Happy? No. Not until the later movies, when he did like everybody else did and fall in love with Marissa Tomei.
Often overlooked, Rudy's best friend.
Yes. But Swingers, him and Vince Vaughn were so good together in that one. I have to put that up higher.
Mrs. Rican will probably also appreciate this. Also vastly overlooked was Monica's super rich boyfriend on Friends in season 3.
Hilarious.
Season 2.
Hilarious. Yeah, no, he's up there. But those first 3 I meant, that for me personally anyway. Those are my 3. So James, I believe it's time.
One more thing very quickly here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're in, because it is time. Huge story coming out of college basketball this week as well. The best female player in the country is back. Paige
She's
Hooper
ready.
Has been 100% cleared.
She's going to win a title this year. And by the way, I'm calling it now, unless they don't get the favorable draw. It's her and the chick from Iowa in the final game.
Caitlin Clark.
Yep. It's Caitlin Clark against Paige Brucker in the final. Speaking of Paige and where she goes to school, how about this? For Diana Taurasi scoring her 10,000th point in the WNBA.
I was actually going to make that transition, and you kind of beat me to it. Yeah, congratulations to Diana. First in league history. Congratulations to Paige. Did you see the photo that they accompanied with Paige from her Instagram account?
I didn't.
It was on the ESPN story. Let me see if I can pull it very, very quickly here. But I hope I spelled her name correctly. No, I didn't. From her Instagram feed.
Justin Tucker hit another one from 60.
I'm sorry, that's like she's in better shape now than at any point in her career. Look at the shape she got herself into. Look at her arms and her shoulder definition.
Yeah, but look at you can tell which knee had the work done.
You could definitely tell, but I mean, it's, 369 days since the injury occurred, just prior to last season. The girl's going to go off this year.
Yeah, they're getting to a title game.
They got something to prove because this is like, what, last year was Connecticut's first year not making the Final Four, I want to say like in 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, something close to a decade.
And they still got to the Sweet 16 without her after winning the AP Player of the Year as a freshman.
Yeah, she was nasty. So I will leave you with this story, and then we'll get into the translator. I was working at Modell Sporting Goods, which is, at the time, was just really up in New York and Connecticut and out there. And I remember I was helping in apparel one day, and I come across a UConn basketball jersey. And this kid was a UConn basketball fan. This was the Emeka Okafor was the big player then. The year they won the championship with him at center. Well, he grabs it. He's like, "I want this one," and I start laughing. And he goes, "Why are you laughing?" And the kid's mother is giving me the nasty look, and I said, "That's not Emeka Okafor's number." "Who is it?" I started laughing. I said, "You going to still want it because you're a UConn fan?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "That player's better than Emeka Okafor." "Who's better than Okafor?" "Diana Taurasi."
I was almost going to say it either had to have been Diana Taurasi or Rebecca Lobo.
Okafor, think about this. That's the year they won both tournaments.
Yep.
So that was Diana.
06?
No, it was 04, 05.
Oh, you know what? You're right. 04, 05, because I remember my grandfather passed away in 04, and both of the teams that he followed, he didn't watch a whole lot of pro sports, but he loved Duke men and UConn women, and they both won the title just a couple of months after he passed away.
Yeah, and then Okafor won it the year after when Diana went back-to-back. So, yeah, it was a Diana Taurasi jersey. Dude, she's still playing. She's 42.
And still getting it done. I mean,
she's filth.
The catch and shoot to get that 10,000th point, that's
Yeah.
somebody half of her age would be able to launch.
Yeah. They're going to win another title. Or no, the Aces are going to win that again.
Well, I don't know. It's the Aces got blown out by 38 points the other night.
Yeah, but they'll bring it when it's playoff time. They're going to want to they're going to want to defend their title. We really do touch on everything. We're talking WNBA.
We're talking women's college basketball. We're talking men's college basketball. Yeah.
Yeah. You all right over there?
I was looking something up. Said one of the Browns players out for the year.
It's a linebacker. He's
Jacob
done.
Phillips. Yeah.
Yep. So an already weak position for the Cleveland Browns just got weaker.
I mean, they got Taki and Walker back at least.
JOK doing well during camp?
I haven't really paid attention right now with what's going on with the Guardians and all that. I won't actually even start paying attention to the Browns with camp and everything until probably next week when the starters play the full first quarter.
And when we start preparing for our football preview in a couple weeks?
Yep.
Yeah, it's about when I'm going to start looking at stuff too. So, Jim, it is time for everyone's favorite closing segment of our show. Would you like to hit the button or would you like me to hit the button? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's right. It is time for the Wisey Translator, when Jim and I give each other 1 to 2, usually 2, names in the sports world or out of the sports world, and we come up with the first thing that hits our brain. Last time we had a show, Alex actually broke the translator when he took a while to get a name for the White Sox GM Rick Hahn, which ended up being Bozo the fucking Clown. We have had answers all the way from Brett Favre being compared to Boss Hogg to Kyrie Irving being called a douche canoe. I do have one for you tonight, James, and I'd like to start with that one. Coming off the James Harden is not going to be traded.
Yeah, I was going to say, please don't let it be James Harden because he's already been brought up 3 times in the translator in the short doing it.
But we are going to bring up a repeat performer with the news that James Harden will not be traded and will be in Philadelphia next year. Jim, your first entry in the Wisey Translator is Joel Embiid.
Start spreading the news. He's leaving today.
What's worse, him going to the Knicks and the Knicks being stupid, or James Harden in Philly?
Yes.
Thank you.
If I can actually quote Tony Rizzo and Aaron Goldhammer, Brett Michaels.
Hammer still needs to go back to Denver.
He does, but Brett Michaels is the answer for anything you don't want to answer.
Brett Michaels. That's so wrong. Brett
I
Michaels
was still
deserves
listening
better
to
than that.
Poison when we graduated.
Everybody was still listening to Poison when we graduated.
Nobody was listening to Poison because grunge had taken over.
Every single female that we knew in high school had Every Rose Has Its Thorn on their playlist, and don't think they didn't.
For somebody who still listens to some Poison to this day, probably in my top 5 least favorite Poison songs.
Oh, mine too. Dude, I grew up on Queensryche and Dokken, and yeah.
I had to put on Empire last week. Just the whole album.
My favorite...
And followed that right up immediately with Operation Mindcrime.
My favorite song of the early 90s was the Anthrax cover of Bring the Noise. Which, in my book...
Where are you?
Which, in my book, is better than the Aerosmith Run DMC Walk This Way. Because Anthrax, they thought all the same things as Public Enemy. And then you laid down that guitar track? Come on.
I mean, it's Scotty fucking Ian, man.
And he loves those dudes, too. Steph actually saw a guy dressed like Flavor Flav around here the other day. He had the clock on and everything. Yes, he did.
And was he rubbing his 2 nickels together?
Better than telling Brigitte Nielsen wanted to put a baby in her. Or did you not see that Flavor of Love?
Yeah, but let's also be honest. About 10 years before that, Brigitte Nielsen was the smoke show of smoke shows.
20 years before that, dude.
Gastineau era.
Sly era.
Did you see the video that I sent you a couple of weeks ago about Tiffany Thiessen still being able to fit into her Max outfit 25 years later? And you couldn't tell. She looked 29. She's going to be 50 in a couple of months.
You know, she has the cooking show that she does?
Yes.
She did. She goes,
coming out.
Yeah, she said, don't judge me, but this is how I eat ranch dressing. She took a potato chip, put a pickle on it, and ranch dressing.
Tiffany Thiessen can do no wrong.
I agree.
She was Kelly Kapowski. She was Valerie Harper, which actually was everything that guys wanted when she joined Melrose Place. She was the bad, hot, bitchy one that she couldn't be on Saved by the Bell.
And then she went to 90210.
She went to 90210. Then she was the wife on White Collar.
What a phenomenal show.
That and Burn Notice.
Burn Notice was great. I love the girl who played Fiona. I like Gabrielle Anwar.
Anwar, yep.
Since she played the Queen of France in the Three Musketeers with Oliver Platt, Charlie Sheen, Kiefer Sutherland, and Chris O'Donnell.
Now, as good as Burn Notice was, we all know what the best part of the show was.
Oh, it was definitely Sam Ash. It's Bruce Campbell. It's always Bruce Campbell. The answer will always be Bruce Campbell.
Did you finally get around to watching the Psycho Stick Bruce Campbell video I sent you?
Yeah. Oh, my God. So who you got for me here, Jim?
Michael, a little bit more of a serious one to start off here.
Okay.
Your first name on the YZ translator for this evening, Ricky Rubio.
I got your back, bro. I got your back. You can tell Kevin Love was a teammate of his when Ricky walks away for that reason. And I believe it. The guy's been a pro since he was 15. He's only 33. But he's been a pro for 18, 19 years. So for him to say that, I applaud him. I support him. And when he's ready to come back to Cleveland. We will embrace you and love you no matter what. Come back to Cleveland.
I would say so. The only caveat I would actually say, if you're thinking about it from a business standpoint, it actually kind of fills a hole in the Cavalier bench.
It does. It does. Jim, my second name for you in the Wisey Translator. Yep, you know what? I'm going to go there. Is Josh Allen.
Quickly but surely turning into Phillip Rivers minus 19 kids.
I did not expect to hear that.
Josh Allen will be this generation's Fran Tarkenton, Warren Moon, Jim Kelly. He will be the best quarterback in the history of football, never win a title at this rate.
Dude.
Because the problem is, as great as he is, he's playing in the same time as Patrick Mahomes in the same conference.
It's not even that, dude. They can't get a number 2 receiver. They can't.
They're hoping Gabe Davis turns into that. I'm hopeful that Gabe Davis is that guy. Because apparently at this point, it's going to be Gabe Davis being the number 1, because I'm starting to think that Stephon Diggs' days as number 1 are numbered.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I think the issue is with Diggs and Bills management, which you'd figure with being at the helm, not a whole lot of players have bad things to say about that regime. They get the backing and the support from the Pagula family. And there's something about Josh. I think it's going to be the same kind of stigma that is troubling Lamar, Baker, and really anyone out of that class, unless he actually develops himself into more of a pocket passer, and the less he gets out of the pocket, the better it's going to be for his career, to where he doesn't have to gunsling in.
I agree with you. Speaking of your Buffalo Bills, I will throw this to you, and then we'll go on to my second and final entry. The Bills are getting an $800 million tax credit for the new stadium from the state of New York. It was announced on the day New York cut $800 million from their Medicaid program,
which is Bush League.
It's fucking New York.
I did not agree with that at all, but it's the resurgence of the Bills. It keeps them in Buffalo. Even though Orchard Park's a good 15 minutes away from Buffalo.
Yeah, and I agree with the Bills staying in, being the only New York team in the NFL. They could have found a different way to do it.
Because you also figure most markets go through a renaissance. Cleveland had their renaissance 7 years ago. You had the Browns on the come up. You had the Cavs win a title. You had the Indians at that point go to the 10th inning of Game 7 of the World Series. The Browns got to the playoffs a short time thereafter. That was kind of their second renaissance after the Gateway Project in '94. And now you're seeing the Bills are one of the 5 best teams year in, year out for the last couple of years in the NFL. And you got the Sabres, who have got the most promising future of any team in the NHL. That you can't even turn on hockey coverage without praising the Buffalo Sabres going forward. Considering they haven't made the playoffs, they've got a longer drought in the NHL, let alone the Big Four sports. Every other team out of the 130 some odd that there are have made the playoffs since the Buffalo Sabres.
That's crazy.
Michael, your second and final name on the YZ translator this evening, CJ Stroud.
I'm going to paraphrase, actually, I'm going to direct quote another first-year AFC quarterback. RELAX. Relax. He played one series against a coach who has the best record in the history of the game against rookie quarterbacks. Calm the fuck down.
Can you spell that one more time?
RELAX.
Don't do it when you want to.
You want to go through it?
I had to go Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
You had to go. I agree with you 100%. You had to go Frankie Goes to Hollywood there. I am very happy that you did that. So I'm going to give you a for the.
I was originally going to go Anthony Richardson, but Stroud had a worse outing.
You know what though? Did he? Because Anthony Richardson wasn't running for his fucking life like CJ Stroud was. Richardson is a better offensive line and better weapons.
I agree. We brought this up on draft night, and I think you and I have actually conversed about it in private between Facebook and everything else, that we would like to see Stroud succeed.
Yes.
Kind of break the mold of the Ohio State quarterback kind of flaming out. We're hopeful that Justin does that in Alex's hometown. But why is there the underlying suspicion here that Stroud has just as much, if not more, athletic tools to be able to succeed, but he's put into the worst situation of any of them with the fact that Houston has nothing. They ripped it down to the studs.
They did. Now, C.J. Stroud is not in the worst position any Ohio State quarterback has been in. That was Dwayne Haskins. Think about it. Head coach didn't want him. Offensive coordinator didn't want him. Quarterbacks coach didn't want him.
Washington, yeah, but Washington was actually, they had ownership turmoil. There was coaching turmoil. There was
Dwayne Haskins was drafted.
They had also still come off a 6-win team campaign the year before. Houston's coming off of 2 wins.
Yeah. Dwayne Haskins was drafted by Washington because he went to the same high school as Dan Snyder's kid. If he would, now let me put it this way. If he would have fell to Pittsburgh and they would have put him behind Big Ben instead of Kenny Pickett, I'm going to say this right now. Number one, he'd be starting in the NFL, I think, this year, if he was still with us, if that didn't happen. And I'm going to say it right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers would win division titles with Dwayne Haskins under center.
That's, knowing what we know now, you'd be hard pressed. I mean, they'd be in the dogfight in the conversation with Joe Cool, but
Joe Shiesty,
or as I like to, or as I'll start referring to him, Joey McAnudo.
Nice. But yeah, no, I honestly believe that I think Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud are going to break the mold. I will say this and preview what we're doing in a few weeks is I don't think Kyle McCord or Devin Brown are first-round quarterbacks. Those are the guys looking to replace C.J. Stroud. One last thing before we sign off and tell everybody what's coming up next week. Do you know what the Dodgers did tonight?
I do not, but you're going to tell me.
They did something that should have been done years ago, and number 34 of Fernando Valenzuela has finally gone to the rafters.
Okay, yeah, I did see that.
Well, it's funny because they added a new showdown thing on the show, and it's retired numbers. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And Fernando's on there. I'm like, wait, I didn't think the Dodgers retired Fernando's number, and it's tonight. 34 goes to the rafters in Chavez Ravine. You know, he's part of a trivia question. ESPN, when they used to actually broadcast baseball games and have good people doing the games, broadcast two no-hitters in the same night.
Fernando and
Dave Stewart.
everyone forgets about Dave Stewart.
Dude, he was a friggin' monster.
And yet,
And
after
that one-
Oakland, he still has a phenomenal career with Toronto.
Yeah, and he's the pitching coach of the 98 San Diego Padres who go to the World Series. He's the one that fixed Jake Peavy to be what he was. Now, last but not least, I will say this. Congratulations, Fernando. Fernando Mania changed baseball and showed that a rookie could carry a team to a World Series. They won the World Series in 1981. They beat the Yankees. Think about the 80s pitching that debuted within 3 years of each other. You had Fernando Mania in 81, and then you had Dwight Gooden in 84. Break Herb Score's record. So that was crazy. So, Jim.
And then a few short years in LA after that, you have No Mo Mania.
Yeah.
Breaking the mold again.
Exactly. Them Dodgers, man. They've been doing it for what? They have 5 rookie years in a row.
Something like that, yeah. You might be
Caros,
right.
Piazza, Mondesi, Hollinsworth. They had 4. And that's why I do the Immaculate Grid every morning. So, Jim, next week, we're going to do a Cavs heavy episode. I think
And
you told me
also,
that, right?
Aren't we out of our normal time slot next week, or is that the week after?
That's the 20. We're going to do the 25th.
Okay.
Instead of the 25th of August will be the NFL college football preview. The night of the 2nd of September will be live at 9 o'clock, but it will be with Ohio State on in the background as the Buckeyes open their season. But I thought we were going to try and get Patrick again and go Cavs heavy next week. And the week after that, obviously, will be the NFL and college football preview. I will reach out to Mr. Rice and see if he's available for that.
We're going to have to get John on. We're going to have to actually tear him away from Fortnite.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the wise guys. It's going to be the quartet of insanity that night. There's our name. If we get Alex on, the quartet of insanity.
We had one, and we could kind of play off of it.
Oh. And since we all know who Weird Al is, we can call it the Alpocalypse. Friday night, August 25th, Wise Guy Apocalypse.
I'll have something better by then. In the words of Sterling Archer, damn it, I had something.
I had something for this. Yeah. It's the last season of Archer this year.
I think I stopped watching when I dropped cable, and I want to say it was after season 6. I think it was the season where Lana got pregnant. It was the year after she had Archer's kid.
Sorry, I tried to spit roast your mom.
There will be
and on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
there will be no truth to the rumor that I will be changing my my ringtone to Mulatto Butts.
we got problems.
You ever see the clip where they showed up to like one of the first few Comic-Cons as a show, and H. John Benjamin comes out to that?
Yeah. Oh my God. So we will see you guys next Saturday night, 9 o'clock. And we will bring you a Cavs heavy episode. Hopefully we'll have Patrick on. And then, of course, in 2 weeks, we got the big one. August 25th, the combined NFL and college football preview here with the Wise Guys. We're going to try and get the Wise Guy 4-pack assembled for that night. We got to do the clip from Endgame at that point in time.
We could. There's also like a Steve Weiser's joke in here somewhere.
Oh God. What? So we will see you guys next week, same time, same bat channel, but it will all be Wise Guys, not just Big Rican.
And again, to close, congratulations on 5 years, man.
Thank you. And thank you for the loan segment there. I really appreciate it. It's been a ton of fun.
You did it for my roast. You've done it for everything else that I've got. I'll have another sports note coming up here probably sometime early next week. I'll be on vacation, not next week, but the week after, so I'll have more content coming out. I apologize that this actually wasn't broadcast to our social media. I completely blanked out. Little by little, more things coming out, more things. You're going to see a few extra changes with the show before too long. That will not be the last time we end up taking a commercial break. We're past the 2.5 hour mark, so we still did an hour and a half Wise Guys show.
We did. Hold on a minute. Let me do some quick math, and then we'll be done. So 7, 14. Dude, stop. 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, 70. We are 77 days from the 2-year anniversary of the Wise Guys and the on-location show at the biggest cocktail party.
And whether or not it ends up being broadcast live, we're going to actually have to see that. But the worst case scenario is it will be recorded and then edited and then posted when I fly back in town the next day.
Are you flying home Sunday or Monday?
I need to double check that here. It's I definitely want to have something set up in stone by my vacation, certainly by Labor Day. So cool. I mean, I'm going to be in touch with you. We're going to get that officially nailed down. But I'm definitely flying in on Thursday the 27th. It's just all a matter of 26th. Am I going to fly home Sunday the 30th or Monday Halloween night? Halloween morning.
Monday's the 30th.
Devil's Night, even better.
Oh,
which means
great.
Which means I could be watching The Crow on the flight.
Nice.
Although it might not actually be the best idea to, be shouting, fire it up, while I'm actually 30,000 feet in the air.
And on that note, we'll see you guys next week.
Good night, everybody.
See you guys.